Welcome to tonight's family mediation time. I'm your old friend, whispering life stories. Tonight, we won't talk about big theories, only real stories. Today we received a letter from a listener. She said, I really need a place to vent, maybe to hear advice from strangers. Because around me, there's truly no one I can talk to. It was an ordinary family meal that turned into an emotional earthquake. She is 28 years old, a mother of three, a 2-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old son, and a 7-year-old eldest son. Let's call him Bruce. That afternoon, she, her husband, their 3 children, her younger brother, and his wife, her parents all gathered at a steakhouse for a late lunch. At first, everything was normal. Bruce asked for a piece of bread, but didn't eat it after getting it. Her husband became unhappy. If you asked for it, you must finish it. Bruce is a sensitive child, and tears immediately fell. At that moment, her sister-in-law Becca stepped in to smooth things over. It's okay, Bruce. I'll eat this piece so it won't go to waste. She could feel her husband getting even angrier. Still, she gently said, let it go. Don't make a big deal out of it. The main dishes arrived. Bruce ordered a kid's steak with fries and fruit. The other 2 children ordered burgers and chicken nuggets. Bruce took a few bites of the steak and stopped eating. Later, she tasted it. The steak was dry and tough. It really didn't taste good. Her husband's face darkened again, wasting food again. She tried to trade her chicken for his steak, but Bruce refused. Becca also offered her plate, and Bruce politely said, no thank you. Her husband's anger was directed only at Bruce. Meanwhile, the 2 younger kids, who only ate fries and fruit, were also labeled as wasting food. She went to the restroom after finishing her meal, more than 5 minutes. She came back, her husband was gone. Bruce was crying. Becca was holding him. Parents looked grim. I was only gone for 5 minutes. What happened? Her mother said her husband kept pressuring Bruce about wasting food. Her father and Becca stepped in, saying, it's fine if the child is full. Then her husband slammed his wallet on the table and stormed off. He sent a message from the car. Pay the bill. Stay away from them. The kids are not allowed to go with them. In the end, her father paid for everyone's meal. She thanked him, apologized, and left with her 3 children, all crying together. Her mother tried to come over and comfort the children, but she waved her off not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't dare. She was afraid her mother and husband would argue again. At this point, I want to pause, because this is not a story about steak, nor even just about anger. This is a story about someone caught in the middle. She said, I feel like this is all my fault. He didn't even want to go. I begged him to spend the day with my family. Well, I've learned my lesson. Feels like I can't have both my family and my husband at the same time. It's either one or the other. They always put me in the middle and force me to choose. My husband is indeed a jerk, but my dad is too. They argue and leave me there to pick sides. But all I want to say is, you're both jerks. You're both hurting me and the kids. And my mom? She's super sensitive. And then gives those sharp-edged apologies. I'm sorry this happened, but no one did anything wrong, except your husband. She says she feels like she's going crazy. If she stands by her husband, she's an unfilial daughter and an irresponsible mother. If she stands by her parents, she's a bad wife who doesn't protect her husband. Let me first talk about the husband. At the table, his anger was directed at a 7-year-old child. On the surface, it was about wasting food, but was it really about a few fries or a piece of bread? Maybe not. Very often, anger is a form of displacement. He felt uncomfortable in that setting. Maybe he thought the grandparents were undermining his authority. Maybe he felt his role was being challenged. Maybe he didn't even want to be there in the first place. These emotions couldn't be expressed directly, so they found the safest outlet, a 7-year-old who couldn't fight back. This is not to excuse his behavior. On the contrary, it's to see clearly. His anger may not have been about the child at all. And slamming his wallet, leaving the table, sending commands, pay the bill, leave. Don't let the kids go with them. This is control. When he felt out of control in that moment, he tried to regain it this way. But at what cost? 3 children in tears, a wife holding back hers, a family gathering ending in embarrassment. Now, let's talk about her parents. Her father challenged the husband in front of the child. His intention was good to protect his grandson. But what about the impact? In front of a 7-year-old, the grandfather and father directly confronting each other, what does the child see? He sees, I caused the adults to fight. This is my fault. And her mother's statement, No one did anything wrong except your husband. Sounds supportive. But it's actually a subtle knife. It doesn't resolve anything. It draws a line. We are on one side. He is the enemy. How is the daughter supposed to choose? I don't know this husband, this father, or this mother. But I know one thing. If there is a 7-year-old child crying in the story, then there is only one priority. The child's feelings matter more than anyone's right or wrong. This doesn't mean the husband's anger doesn't matter, or that the grandfather's stance was wrong. It means that in front of a 7-year-old, all adult concerns face authority, whose right must take a step back. If I were this mother, I would do one thing after everyone calms down. I would speak to my husband alone. Today at the restaurant, Bruce cried, not because he was disobedient, but because he was scared. Our child is afraid of his father. Can we for a moment not talk about who's right or wrong, but think together about how to make sure he's not afraid? Then I would speak to my parents alone. Thank you for caring about Bruce. But next time, can you let me handle it first? When you confront him directly, it only makes the child more afraid and puts me in a harder position. But I know it's easier said than done, because some husbands won't listen. Some parents won't let go. Now, the second submission. It comes from another listener. The letter isn't long, but every sentence feels like a thin needle, piercing a place that's hard to put into words. Let me read it to you. I don't know what other families are like, but there's one thing I've noticed in my own family since I was young. Every time we have a conflict, or a big argument, or someone points out that someone else did something wrong, afterward, nothing changes. For example, if someone crosses your boundaries and you tell them then what, then nothing happens. My sister and I are very distant now. What's strange is that after conflicts maybe a day later, a week later, or even just a few minutes or hours later, the whole family pretends like nothing happened. We're still a happy family. We're still loving siblings. Everything is fine. Our family has always been like this. So in reality, my family is very dysfunctional, because everyone pretends we're a loving family, but that's not the truth. Does anyone else have a family like this, where everything is fine on the surface, but clearly it isn't? Let's go back to the listener's childhood. Imagine you were a child. You see conflict at home. Yes. Someone says hurtful things. Someone cries. Someone slams a door. Your heart races. You're scared. You don't know what will happen next. And then suddenly, it's as if an invisible hand presses a reset button. No one mentions what just happened. No one apologizes. No one explains. No one asks you, "Are you okay?" Mom calls you to dinner like nothing happened. Dad watches TV like usual. Your sister scrolls on her phone. You know there was an earthquake, but everyone is calmly drinking tea. What would you think? What would a child make of this? In psychology, there's a concept called emotional invalidation. When a person's real feelings are ignored, dismissed, or told you shouldn't feel this way, that's what happens. In a family where everyone pretends nothing happened, emotional invalidation isn't occasional, it's the atmosphere, the air. The child slowly learns one thing: my feelings don't matter. What just happened doesn't matter. What matters is maintaining the image that everything is fine. So when this child grows up, they may become someone who can't express anger, someone who swallows their pain, someone who constantly wonders in relationships, am I too sensitive? Because they were trained from childhood. Your radar is broken. The storm doesn't exist. I want you to imagine a wall. A beautiful wall, painted white, decorated with warm family photos. Sunlight shines on it, making it look strong and comforting. But behind the wall, there's a crack. It was always there. Every conflict is another impact, making the crack a little bigger. But no one wants to admit the crack exists. So people keep smiling in front of it, taking photos, celebrating holidays, having meals. The crack doesn't disappear just because you don't look at it. It only grows until one day the whole wall collapses. The listener mentioned that she and her sister are estranged. It doesn't happen overnight. Distance grows inch by inch after every pretend nothing happened. When your boundaries are crossed and you speak up, but nothing happens, what do you learn? You learn that speaking up doesn't matter. Your boundaries don't matter. Next time, you may not say anything. The time after that, you may not even recognize the discomfort. Eventually, you learn silence. And silence is not reconciliation. Silence is withdrawal. That's why many families that never argue are actually emotionally distant. Because it's not that they have no conflict, they just don't know how to face it. A family that never argues is not necessarily healthy. A family that argues, apologizes, reconciles, and truly change is maybe healthier. Why? Because conflict itself is not the problem. The problem is what happens after the conflict. Cracks are inevitable in any relationship. But repair is what allows the relationship to continue. And what this listener described, pretending nothing happened, skips the repair entirely. Jumps from crack to there is no crack. That's not repair. That's avoidance. Avoid it once, the crack remains. Avoid it 100 times and there's a canyon between two people. You might ask, why do they do this? Why not face it directly? Dear listener, here's something important to understand many times. Families choose to pretend not because they are bad, but because they are afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that once the truth is spoken, the family will truly fall apart. Have you seen parents like this? They would rather maintain surface harmony than face real conflict, because in their minds, conflict equals danger. Arguments mean the end of relationships. Admitting problems means admitting they are not good parents, so they quickly repackage abnormal into normal. They use dinners ready to cut off unfinished emotions. They use it's over to dismiss feelings that haven't passed. It's not forgiveness. That's erasure. After erasure, yes, there's no more arguing, but there's also no real intimacy. Because intimacy requires truth. You can maintain a family through pretending, but you cannot build real emotional connection that way. Finally, I want to end tonight's story with an image. Imagine two people in a room. They have argued. Voices were raised. Someone cried. But after the argument, they didn't leave, and they didn't pretend nothing happened. One person says, "What I said earlier was hurtful. I'm sorry." The other says, "Thank you for apologizing. I also had my part in it." They sit in silence for a moment, and one says, "We're still family, right?" The other replies, "Yes, always. But we can do better." Dear listener, this is what real relationships look like. Not the absence of cracks, but the willingness to repair them. Real love can withstand conflict. It can withstand you saying, "You hurt me." It can withstand the silence that follows, and the courage to say, "I need you to change." False harmony cannot survive a single truth. So tonight I invite you to reflect. Is there a relationship in your life where you've been pretending everything is fine? If one day you stop pretending what would happen, you don't have to answer right away. The night is long. Just take your time. This is Whispering Life Stories. Thank you for listening to tonight's family emotional session. If you have a story to share, feel free to leave a comment or send a message. Good night. May you have relationships where you don't have to pretend, and the courage to speak the truth. See you tomorrow night.